Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have one job in the federal government, and that is to protect the United States of America, our national security, and all Americans, their life, their liberty, and their pursuit of happiness. And since the Biden administration has taken over, there has been a direct result in the number of deaths in this country from fentanyl. I want you to know that in 2020, there were 4.8 thousand pounds of fentanyl seized by CBP. But in 2021, fiscal year 2021, it increased to 11.2 thousand pounds of fentanyl was seized by the CBP. That is a direct result of Biden administration failure policies. Now, here we are in to date, fiscal year 2023, they have already seized 12.5 thousand pounds of fentanyl. The Biden administration is failing this country by not protecting our border and securing our border and stopping fentanyl from being brought into our country illegally by the cartels, and people are dying every single day because of it. Fentanyl deaths have doubled between 2 years. From April 2019 to April 2021, those are the statistics we have. Fentanyl deaths doubled from 32,754 to 64,178. This is a complete failure. I want you to know it's affecting every single state in the country. In Georgia, fentanyl deaths have gone up by 230%. In rural Northwest Georgia, my district, the 14th district, we are up 350%. Fentanyl does not discriminate on your skin color, your gender, your politics. Fentanyl kills everyone. It kills police officers, first responders, and tragically, fentanyl is now the #1 cause of death of young Americans ages 18 to 45. And this is unforgivable. The Biden administration is responsible for this, and they have blood on their hands because they refuse to secure our border. Today we have a witness with us, Ms. Kiesling. I just want to tell you I'm so sorry from one mother to another for the death of your 2 sons that died from fentanyl poisoning. That should never have happened. Should never have happened to you. It should never happen to any family. It happens to families at home where I live. It happens to pretty much everyone we know. And I want to ask you, first I want to thank you for being brave to come here and share your grief with our committee. But Ms. Kiesling, would your sons be alive today if our government would secure our southern border?
The year Caleb was born, 2000, there were 20,000 drug-related deaths. And the year they died, it was 5 times as many. And I appreciate you using the term fentanyl poisoning because that's what it was. It wasn't an overdose. They had no idea that they were doing anything that could kill them. And it's because fentanyl got into this country. I heard this man over here from the Cato Institute, talk about, well, it's because of demand. What I'm hearing him say is they asked for it. What the hell? Seriously? Are you kidding me? We need to protect our children. They didn't ask for that. This wasn't demand. They wanted the fentanyl. They didn't want fentanyl. They thought they were getting Percocets. Okay? He's absolutely clueless. Like, total disconnect from what's happening. And to say, oh, let's just give them strips or let's give them rehab. Well, you know what? My kids got my son Caleb went to federal rehab. It was a flop house. It wasn't real rehab. You're wasting your money where you're sending it. I'm telling you, it's a waste of money because it wasn't real rehab. And the government paid for their drugs under COVID. They encouraged them not to stay home. All these young people in our support groups, we all talk about it, how they paid for their drugs with the federal funds under COVID that gave them incentive not to work. Healthy young people.
Thank you, Ms. Kiesling. This government has failed you, and it's failing American families. And it's failing, most of all, it's failing our children and our young people. Thank you very
The
much.
lady's time has expired. I now recognize Mr. Swalwell from California.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll start with Sheriff Lamb. Thank you, sir, for your service in a very hard and challenging part of the country. And I've got two brothers who are deputy sheriffs. My dad was a deputy sheriff. I know it's a thankless job. And I guess I just want to ask, if you had 20,000 more Border Patrol agents surged across the southern border, would that make it easier or harder for you to do your job?
Thank you, Mr. Swalwell, for the kind words as well, and for your family's service. Absolutely, 20,000 more Border Patrol agents would make a world of difference. I would love more deputies too, so yes, staffing does matter.
And if you were able to have more technologies, whether it's drone technologies, sensor technologies, to work with CBP to monitor and track the border, would that also help?
Yes, sir. We spent a lot of money on helicopter fuel. We spent a lot of resources there. Where I'm at, if I have a regular drone, I have to be with line of sight. Honestly, in my area, I need a drone that's a military-style drone that I can fly for 50 miles. So would love to have a drone.
And do you agree that we need to crack down on any employer who hires an undocumented individual, because by hiring somebody who's undocumented, it incentivizes migration?
I've heard a lot of talk about a lot of things, but I think we're underestimating the amount of lost tax revenue that goes on every year from all the people in the country illegally. We are all paying taxes, and we're footing the bill for a lot of things. There's a lot of lost tax revenue. I do agree that on some levels there should be some crackdowns, but we also need to balance that out with the amount of employment that is needed in this country. This is your job. This is what you guys are good at. And, and respectfully, I would say the last 2 years, one party had command of Congress, Senate, and the presidency and could have passed an immigration bill and didn't do so. And now here we are again now back where both parties are split. So I think there's a lot of help we could get.
And you're right. In 4 years before that, another party had exactly what you described. And I don't want to disvalue the benefit of an immigrant workforce, because my next point is that wouldn't you agree that having a legal immigration system where people who go through the legal process go to the front of the line would be a preferred way to adjudicate those who want to come to the United States, follow the rules, work, pay those taxes?
100% agree. I've lived in the Philippines. I've lived in Panama. I lived in Argentina. I agree that you have to create a common sense path to fill jobs, to give these people an opportunity. Me, along with every other law enforcement and all these people set up here, we want people to come here and make a better life. We just want them to follow the process.
That's right. And what I just described to you was essentially the 2014 President Obama Republican deal in the Senate, where 68 Republicans and Democrats agreed on the framework that I just laid out. And it's my hope that we can get back to that, because I agree with you. I think most Americans, they want to have a border that is safe and secure. They want to have immigrants come to this country and work the jobs that have a necessity to be filled. They want to make sure that there's a background check and that the legal process are the ones that go to the front of the line. And it seems to be that the politics of this overtakes the solutions. On the point of fentanyl, Ms. Keeson, I too want to share my sympathy for you and your family. It's someone who knows people who have also died. But I believe that the biggest culprit here, and I think the Republican colleagues of mine agree, is really going after China. I think China has blood on its hands. I don't think President Biden has blood on his hands. I think China has blood on its hands for the fentanyl crisis, because as a number of people have said, overwhelmingly these fentanyl is coming through points of entry, and overwhelmingly it's U.S. citizens. And the fentanyl, we know. And finally, I think Ms. Green is just divorced from reality when she wants to use the fentanyl seizures as a way to beat up on the president. Because Sheriff Lamb, you said earlier today that you are literally saving the country with the number of people that you have saved with those seizures. And where I come from, and my brothers make a big seizure that get guns and drugs off the streets, We don't use that to make a political point. We use that to give an attaboy, to the police officers for what they did. And so I'm going to give y'all an attaboy for what you've done, and thank you, because you've taken a lot of fentanyl off the streets and you've made us a lot safer because you've done it. Yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Swalwell.